As Sherlock Holmes once said, "My dear Dr. Watson, you have a remarkable talent for observing the obvious."
Landscapes are a complex mixture of ecosystems, color, light, and sense of definite character that can be seen by anyone. However, the way individuals interpret and experience what they see is a unique combination of their memories, expectations, and cultural upbringing. For instance, the edge of a dense pine forest might give some the impression of a brick wall in an urban area, while others might see it as the barrier at which the man-made environment stops and nature begins. In order for a designer to prevent their own interpretation of an area from hindering their clearly understanding the elements in the landscape, is to categorize the area into series of points and lines, planes for the most obvious elements and volume for the most massive. Nodes are then defined as area of tension where two or more of these features meet. Still photos and video footage provide an ideal way to capture and analyze these features without obscuring them with the feeling of the site. This gives the designer more objective canvas to work with.
People can come here in all kinds of weather and experience the landscape quite differently.
In 2011, a walk around the lake and an informal workshop was advertised in the local paper by the Horticulture Society. Although it was raining that day, 17 people participated and provided new insight and potential ideas for the area's design.
Jókistu var að segja að ef hann tæki alla stofnuna hverju tré þá þetta náttúrulega miklu herra, það komið 30 metrar tré
After a delightful 3-hour walk, the group went inside for a coffee and a brainstorming session of how the area could be improved. A 3D styrofoam model made after measuring the elevation of the area was used during the discussion. The use of the model was very helpful and its presence had the effect of drawing people into the conversation. During an interview, Jóhann Magnússon used the model to explain old land use patterns. Now the purview of archaeologists, the ox fence and two older fences, the goat fence and the sheep fence, stand as reminders of days gone by. In fact, the lake Húsatjörn takes its names from the sheep fence. The general opinion of Húsatjörn Lake and its surroundings is that the area is of significant natural beauty. The surroundings have marked natural contrast in a relatively small area, like the soft lines of the wetlands in contrast with the rough lines of the cliffs, and a complex mixture of natural elements compared to more uniform ecosystems. Most guests agree that the landscape is eye-catching and the other senses are fulfilled as well. These combined with historical elements make the area even more unique. The design is based on using the elements that already exist, although few major changes need to be made to make the area more accessible and exciting. A research done by Sherry Curl in 2008 among visitors to 4 Icelandic forests showed visitors came to the area for two main benefits: restorative and social. Conflicts can be expected between social and restorative groups, since their activities and needs can be quite different. For this reason, it was decided to direct social activities more or less to the same area and keep the restorative areas separated. Although it is possible to practice both at the same place when circumstances allow. These two benefit types were emphasized in the analysis and design of Húsatjörn Lake. Learning is also a desired benefit that is extremely relevant to this area. Considering Eidar was an educational institution for more than a century, it would be inappropriate not to include educational opportunities in the area's design. All human experiences are based on the interpretation of the stimulation of one or all of the 5 senses and associations made by an individual to those stimuli. Therefore, there is a large psychological component to any experience. Each individual interprets their experience of an environment based on their memories, expectations, and cultural upbringing. These factors were taken into consideration in the design. Different approaches to landscape analysis and design tools were used for the restorative area on the west side of the lake and the social area on the east, although they were useful on both sides. A method called recreation opportunity spectrum, developed by Clark and Stanke in the 1970s, was used to categorize different types of areas with regards to the type of recreational experiences that can be gained from the area. This method has 6 physical settings, ranging from primitive to urban settings, each harmonized with the restorative and social decision. Another analysis approach, devised by Stígsdóttir and Gran in 2002, is called 8 room characteristics. It is similar to the recreation opportunity spectrum, and each room indicates a certain character, rooms such as festive or wild. These methods were combined and adapted for use in analyzing the area surrounding the lake. The classification of an area as either social or restorative does not mean social activity cannot or should not thrive in the restorative area and vice versa. It simply means the design for each area focuses on specific type of benefit. Guests can use both area as they wish, but because of the infrastructure they feel more inclined to use the area as they are informally guided without formal restrictions being imposed. Other activities can be carried out in the area as well, such as dog walking, cross-country skiing and berry picking, to name few. Both areas, restorative and social, require some maintenance of the shrubs and trees. This includes thinning, pruning or even planting and perhaps adding some new species. Creative landscape management is a method where the implementation of the design itself dictates the function of an area and the necessary feature needed to provide these desired attributes without providing specific instructions for how these are to be created. It is a design principle for dynamic landscape where the only limitation are those of the imagination of those involved in implementing the design. There are, however, 2 principles that need to be followed. First, it is important that the design overseer has a good knowledge of botany. Second, the designer must have continuous watchful management protocol, allowing the constant development of the design, and without having predetermined outcome in mind, other than the broad outlines contained in the plan, of course. The path around the lake is mainly based on old sheep tracks. They are narrow, wet and uneven. The path is suitable for single file walking by fit individual in waterproof boots. The only facilities found around the lake are provided by volunteers without budget for materials. Taking that into account, the facilities are quite good and serve guests' most basic needs. There are 5 bridges, 1 stairway and 5 benches. The restorative area is located mainly to the west of the lake, where most of the pine and spruce trees are, as well as the cliffs. This area is dedicated to those guests wanting to experience bird life, quietness, obtain sense of solitude, or recharge their batteries. The social area is on the east side of the lake, where the land is not as steep and hilly and relatively close to the housing area. Both are suitable for use as an area for families and friends, where people of all ages and physical abilities can gather easily. In the social area, the land is fairly flat and it is contained to the housing area. The overall design for the social area includes the infrastructure of the path system itself and additional tree stands. There will be circular path system in the area, providing guests who have moderate physical disabilities to go to the lake and back without traveling the same way twice. The path structure is wide enough for 2 wheelchairs to meet and pass easily, and durable enough to withstand at least 1,000 visits over summer without negative user impacts. Surface must be as smooth and even as possible all year round. In the wettest area, the path will be built of textured timber or similar material to reduce slipperiness.